Good evening. I'd like to call the March 13th meeting of the President and Board of Trustees of Indian Head Park. Can we have roll, please, clerk?
Trustee Gazis.
Yes, here.
Trustee Svetka.
Here.
Trustee Donnersberger. Trustee O'Loughlin.
Here.
Trustee Eck.
Present.
Trustee Saldana.
Here.
President Amy Jo Wittenberg.
Here. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. During my report tonight, I'd like to give everyone an update on Wolf Road. Last meeting, monthly meeting, board meeting, we had a presentation by Matt Gadziak from Strand Engineering regarding the roadway alternatives and the feedback that we received from the community and residents regarding the alternatives. The data had been compiled and is available on wolfroadstudy.com, and for everybody to review and to read what the community is feeling about the 3 roadway alternatives that were presented on December 11th, 2024. We are at a time now where we are going to be making a recommendation to Cook County Department of Highways and Transportation, and that recommendation will be coming from Indian Head Park regarding the roadway alternatives. I'd like just to take a moment to take people through the process one last time. I still get questions about this project, even after all of the meetings that we've had since 2022. So we started this process in April of 2022, where we had public information meeting number 1. That was our first public meeting in this room regarding the alternatives for Wolf Road redesign. There was extensive public feedback that was provided in April and May 2022 surrounding public information meeting number 1. In response, outreach efforts were increased to better include the public in the process. So funding and establishing a PIP and a corridor advisory committee by Cook County was created for the Wolf Road redesign. 2 CAC meetings were held and a CAC committee was formed. The CAC committee included over 25 stakeholders representing our school districts, park districts, Indian Head Park, Burr Ridge residents, business owners, other governmental and public safety agencies were available to collaborate with the study team on the alternative design processes. The CAC meetings were held December 13th, 2023, and July 15th, 2024. The CAC brought forward various opinions and preferences regarding the roadway alternatives. In addition to the CAC, we had a variety of public engagement surveys and mapping exercises. We had a 2023 public survey with 320 people responded, a 2023 interactive mapping exercise with 81 people responded, a 2023 alternative mapping exercise for the roadway for 142 responded, and all data, all mapping feedback, all preferences data has been collected, combined, and made available on the public website for wolfroadstudy.com. So all the data that has been collected was tallied, collated, and provided to the public. The PR firm that was hired by Cook County and Strand Engineering, RM Chin, managed the website and the communications management process for this project. They received 15 voicemails, 261 emails. We had 2,280 website visitors to the website, almost 4,500 website views. We had a postcard mailing of 3,200 postcards, and we had 403 survey participants and 142 alternative survey participants. So I think we can all agree that we have had a lot of feedback and a lot of preferences that we have discussed and communicated and collaborated about with this project. We will be making a recommendation to Cook County Department of Transportation and Highways. The trustees have all been provided the draft letter of that correspondence. So if you have any feedback about that, please let me know. After careful consideration of public input and an extensive review of available alternatives, the Village of Indian Head Park has selected Alternative 1, the baseline sidewalk, as a preferred option for Wolf Road. This decision is based on its minimal footprint, reduced impact on adjacent properties, alignment with the preferences of our residents and homeowners associations. The inclusion of the new sidewalk on the west side of Wolf Road will enhance pedestrian safety, particularly for children traveling to Highlands District 106, Pleasantdale District 107, schools, and parks. While this decision reflects the best immediate path forward, the village remains committed to a long-term vision for Wolf Road that ensures safety, sustainability, stormwater management, and enhanced aesthetics. As the project advances, we will be looking for support from the county as we explore additional enhancements. The next public meeting for more detailed road design will be in spring 2026, when the CAC meeting number 3 and public meeting number 3 will be scheduled for a more refined alternative. So the engineering will now begin, and we will move forward with the Alternative 1 baseline sidewalk. I'd also like to remind everybody that the senior congregate meal, you can come have lunch with Johnny Cash on 3/20 at 1:30. And if you wish to come, please RSVP to 708-354-1323. Thank you. Oh, do I have, where's my proclamation? Oh, right in front of me, sorry. I'm going to now read a proclamation for 2025 Arbor Day. Whereas trees provide numerous environmental, economic, and aesthetic benefits, including reducing erosion, conserving energy, purifying air, producing oxygen, enhancing wildlife habitats, and whereas the Village of Indian Head Park recognizes the vital role trees play in improving the quality of life for its residents, supporting property values, and contributing to the beauty and character of our community, and whereas the Village of Indian Head Park has demonstrated its commitment to environmental stewardship and sustainability by maintaining and enhancing its urban forest, and whereas Arbor Day is an annual event dedicated to the planting, nurturing, and celebration of trees, first observed in 1872 and now recognized throughout the U.S. and around the world, and whereas the Village of Indian Head Park encourages all residents, businesses, and community organizations to participate in tree planting efforts and educational activities to promote a greener, healthier, and more sustainable future. And whereas in recognition of Arbor Day, the Village of Indian Head Park will plant trees in public spaces and support programs that highlight the importance of trees in our community. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Amy Jo Wittenberg, President of the Village of Indian Head Park, along with the Board of Trustees, do hereby proclaim April 25th, 2025 as Arbor Day in the Village of Indian Head Park and urge all residents to celebrate by planting and caring for trees to benefit future generations. Thank you. Did you have a comment on that, Gavin?
Yes, I wanted to let everybody know now that Arbor Day has officially been declared as April 25th, 2025. We will plan an event. Public Works staff Joe and Brian will be hosting the community for a tree planting at an appropriate location in the village. Do you want to talk more about that?
Yes, we're planning on doing a tree in Black Hawk Park, And one of our front-running trees we're looking to put in is a marmo maple. It's a very large shade tree. And then we have two other options, but we've already had contact with Hinsdale Nursery. They don't have any stock yet, but they should have this in plenty of time for us to plant. And then, yes, we were thinking about doing a cookout at the Public Works facility after to celebrate Arbor Day.
So did everybody hear that? We're going to have an Arbor Day cookout at Public Works to celebrate trees and our wonderful village that we can celebrate Arbor Day. All righty, moving right along. Could I please have a motion for the consent agenda, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a question.
Yeah, any comments or questions on the consent agenda
Yeah.
items?
On the cash report here, it shows current balances total for January of roughly $3,375,000, and on the back side, it has a different starting balance, and I just recommend that we amend that for our next meeting, is all.
Yes, I was just going to have our treasurer go through that so he can, the financial report. So is that what you were speaking about, or the fund balances? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
There's
Gavin, did
a
you see
different
that?
starting value.
Yep,
I see that
I
for
think he's
January
got that.
31st, starting.
thank
balance.
you. Thank you. Any other questions on consent agenda items? Hearing none, can we have a financial report, please, treasurer?
Yes. So the Village of Indian Head Park financial summary for the month ending February 2025, February 28th, 2025. Our cash on hand at January 31st, 2025, as Trustee Eck pointed out, was $3,375,401.53. At the all our payments during February of 2025 totaled $550,004.88. Our revenues for February 2025 were $851,343.03, bringing our ending bank balance to $3,270,690.14. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, can we please have a roll call vote?
Trustee Gazis.
Aye.
Trustee Svetka.
Aye.
Trustee O'Loughlin.
Aye.
Trustee Eck.
Aye, with modification noted. Thank you.
And Trustee Saldana.
As amended, aye.
6-0, the motion carries.
Thank you. Moving right along to new business, can I have a motion, please, for item A?
I make a motion to approve item A, consideration and approval of ordinance 2025-01, no parking zone on Apache.
Second?
Administrator Morgan, would you like to go through this?
This ordinance establishes a no parking zone on Apache Drive on the north side of the street across from 6506 Apache. This decision follows concerns regarding traffic, or this recommendation follows concerns regarding traffic safety and access for the resident at that address, 6506. And it's near the intersection with Indian Head Trail. The Public Works Department and the Police Department have reviewed this recommendation, and we're now seeking board approval.
I believe this is right on the corner, is it not? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I drove by it after I saw this. Makes fine, okay with me.
Any other questions about no parking zone on Apache? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Gazis.
Aye.
Trustee Svetka.
Aye.
Trustee O'Loughlin.
Aye.
Trustee Eck.
Aye.
Trustee Saldana.
Aye.
5-0, the motion carries.
Item B, please. Do I have a motion?
motion for consideration and approval of ordinance 25-02, special use for 6981 Vine Street.
Second.
Question on that is, now that I see the map on this, I've been by this previously, will there be any commercial use at all, or is this just a combined unit into one residential plot?
Andres, please.
So the house that is currently there, has been there for a while, that will not be any commercial. If they do use it as a commercial, as is stated in the ordinance, they have to either surrender the special use to us or they have to notify us first off. So it is unique because that is a single parcel when it got combined. But we very specifically said only that part of the house, only that house will be used for the residential part.
But the parking around it will still be residential rather than commercial?
Correct. The parking on that, it's off of Vine Street, so normal parking rules will apply. The garage as well as the driveway will be for the residents, and the parking that is behind it, that is currently used for the business, will still be used for business functions.
Are they going to combine this into one PIN number
It is combined to one PIN number.
already?
Yes. That's why I refer to it as the address commonly known as 6981. It is, but it's still one PIN number. That was combined in 2005.
Any other questions on special use for 6981 Vine?
Yeah, just a question because I don't have the knowledge to answer this on my own. Is it odd that since we haven't quite approved this yet, that the establishment is already listed for rent as a residential unit on Facebook? Is that typical?
I wasn't aware that it was listed as a residential unit on
It's listed in
Facebook.
the Brookfield Facebook page, which is kind of odd.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit odd on that. This recommendation did come, with a unanimous one from the Plan Commission, so I can't speak for
Okay.
the
I just
applicant on it.
was kind of
And-
surprised of the order of precedence here, but
Okay, and I just want to double
Just
check
checking.
because 6971, it's 6981, not the blue house, not the,
Mm-hmm.
okay, just want to double check because 6971 north of it is residential, so.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Just
have
checking.
a question. What happens on June 1st, 2029? Do they just keep applying for special use? Is there a reason why it ends?
That was the term that the applicant asked for. Their thought process was they wanted someone in there who would be in either, middle school or a high school, so those 4 years on it. As part of it, as part of the terms for it, we will have to basically, as the timing is coming up, they'll be having to apply for a special use, or continuation or extension of the special use. As we have it in there, it'd be an administrative review, so we're not going through the full hearings again. But there is a January 1st date that is in the ordinance that is specifically saying that they have to contact us to be looking to continue that, or vice versa. We can always reach out ahead of time too.
Does
So
it automatically revert to the zoning that it has now if they don't apply for extension?
it would, because that if they don't apply, well, it would on June 1st, it would revert automatically for it.
And if
because
someone is living there and they rented it out to that person, what happens?
That's there's it's a very interesting question on that one. That's why I put a 6-month header on it first.
So on January, you go and check to make sure that they're gonna apply again, or, is there a process that we do to make sure that we don't end up with someone that didn't know that the house is now reverted to non-residential and needs to be kicked out? I mean, there's a process that we have foreseen.
Well, yes,
as needing.
staff will be putting it in there, and we'll put it in our calendars as well, and we'll make special note of it too. And I said the petitioner also is aware of it as well, so they'll, and they can't essentially sell the property in the special. There's a lot of different ways that we'll make sure that does not happen, because we are very sensitive to that.
Yeah, because it is very possible they rent it out to a person that is absolutely unaware that on that day, it reverts to non-residential. So we need to make sure that is all those,
Correct.
okay, thank you.
A couple of years ago, we were looking at the property across the street for commercial use, and And there was some discussion in regards to use of vine, possible modification of vine. And looking at the map here, vine goes to the end of this property, and then it looks like it curves on an east to west tangent on the south end of this property. Was there any impact or discussion of the use of this property as it relates to what we might have been considering in regards to the commercial property across the street?
So Vine Street does go further down there. It does, so that there's a property to the south there that's now all open field. There used to be a house there. It got bought by the state and demolished. I'm sure you, as you all are aware. Part of the term process in there is also to give us a certain set amount. So if we are looking at that being changed and Vine, being used as commercial, that term limit in there does give the village the ability to not renew the special use, give them forewarning on that. And so we know there'll be a time when that we could then redevelop that. Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Just wanted to clarify that section 3, subsection 1 does mention about the vacating of the property upon expiration.
The renewal was for flexibility for both the landowner and us, because those areas are being looked at potentially to go into development. So that was very much top of mind, Charlie.
Yeah, I was just wondering if that adversely impacts the potential commercial use, because looking at the map, there's 3 lots along Wolf Road there that were looked at and discussed in the Planning and Zoning Committee and a couple of years ago as, possible alternative use. And just asking if any of that factored into the conversation with Planning and Zoning.
We did speak about the future redevelopment of it, so that was top of the mind of making sure that we didn't give a special use that didn't have a term on it, so as this can continue forever. A bigger issue in that area will be the current 6971, which is currently zoned residential and is being habited by residential. So that is not a special use, that is just what the zoning is by property rights. So there's that trickiness there as well. But yes, we were very sensitive to that for not only the current uses, but also the future uses on it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, can we please have a roll call vote?
Trustee Gazzas.
Aye.
Trustee Svetka.
Aye.
Trustee O'Laughlin.
Aye.
Trustee Eck.
Aye.
Trustee Saldana.
Aye.
5-0, the motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to item C, please. May we have a motion?
Let me get to that and move that the resolution 2025-06 road program as indicated in the package be approved by the board.
Second.
Gavin?
This resolution pertains to the 2025 road program, which includes resurfacing projects at Thunderbird, Cherokee, and Sioux Trail, and road patching at other locations in the village. This proposed plan has been designed to improve road conditions while maintaining fiscal responsibility. In fact, this was the project that was bid in the fall, and we only got one bidder. We received one bid. This time around, when it was rebid, we got more bidders, and the lowest bid is almost $100,000 less than the previous bid. Joe can provide details and answer any questions you may have. I will note that the Public Works Committee has reviewed this and supports approval.
Any questions on the 2025 road program? Do you have a schedule, Joe?
Yeah, I was just going to add to that. We have a pre-construction meeting on the 18th of this month, and I think we're going to move fairly quickly on this. We spoke with Thomas Engineering, and they're pretty much ready to go. So Once we're done with the pre-construction meeting, we'll have a schedule of time frame as where we're going to be and what's going on. So I'll know more after that date.
And does this include the reclamite for the reconditioning?
No, the Reclamite's a separate project.
And is that going to happen too?
It's going to happen as well before the May 1st new budget year.
Okay.
I would just like to add that Joe and Gavin, per your leadership, saved the village $100,000 by deciding to table that back in November with the one bid. And thank you for that and bringing your experience and knowledge and that to the board and to the village. So appreciate your forethought on that particular piece of business.
Thanks.
Alrighty, if there are no other questions, can we have a roll call vote, please, for the 2025 road program?
Trustee Gazzis?
Aye.
Trustee Zvetka?
Aye.
Trustee O'Laughlin?
Aye.
Trustee Eck?
Aye.
Trustee Saldana?
Aye.
5-0, the motion carries.
May we have a motion for item D, please?
Move that Resolution 2025-07, Strand Task Order 2501 be approved. This is for the work to be done on the Pontiac Water Main Repair Project.
Second.
This resolution will approve the task order, which covers engineering services, including reporting and compliance measures required by regulatory agencies. The board's approval will allow us to move forward with the necessary infrastructure improvements along Pontiac. And we will also, so it's water main replacement, and there will be some road reconstruction too, or resurfacing involved along Pontiac, where we're digging out the water main from under the road, but we're also adding in Keokuk, because those two roads are, per our engineers' estimates, in the worst condition in the village, along with the water main under Pontiac being one of the places we have the most leaks.
I just wanted to clarify, because for the public, that this is Pontiac Drive from Blackhawk Trail to Waubonsee Drive, because otherwise it's not the whole Pontiac.
Yes, ma'am. And again, this task order was reviewed by the Public Works Committee, and they're recommending approval.
Any other questions on the Strand Task Order 25-01? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Gazzis?
Aye.
Trustee Zvetka?
Aye.
Trustee O'Laughlin?
Aye.
Trustee Eck?
Aye.
Trustee Saldana?
Aye.
5-0, the motion carries.
Great. Can we have a motion, instead of, I'd like to edit item E, please, instead of consideration and approval, this is going to be an item for discussion for flock safety cameras. Do we need a motion for that or not? So we're just going to have a discussion only on the flock safety cameras. Gavin?
Yes. So Chief Walsh, Commander Gardner, and I have met with Flock to discuss locations for video surveillance cameras to complement our license plate reader cameras that are located at various points in the village. By adding these cameras, which have pan, tilt, and zoom capabilities, and are continuous live feed, we can enhance public safety by providing real-time monitoring of people and activities in high traffic areas and parks. We have gotten two implementation options, one that's focused just on parks, and then a broader plan that includes intersections. This will impact both security coverage and budget allocation, so we welcome any feedback from the board on how you would like us to proceed. The timing of this conversation is related to us bringing back a final budget proposal, so we'd like some direction on that.
What's the cost difference between video versus ALPR, just that's reading the license plates? So there's totals here for video. I'm just wondering what the total would be if it was just license plate readers.
It's very similar. The cost of the camera and the monthly is very similar,
So
if
it's
not the same.
Not, but it's close.
Yeah, very similar.
And I notice your annual fees on here, renewal fees are less than what we were able to get in Ashbrook, so I commend the negotiating team for
Well,
working in that direction.
yeah, the totals for year one on this, Gavin's going to give you a new total because the Flock sales rep gave us some quotes later in the day. So I believe it's $33K for year one on the 8 camera plan, and $27K for year two. So
How much for year two?
$27K. You don't pay for the cameras. Year one includes the camera and then a couple of other hardware items like the pole and some solar
Yeah.
equipment.
Yeah.
So year two is just the software as a service fees that they provide for the software and the cloud licensing and user fees.
And for the that 27,000 is the ongoing cost, and that's for the 8 cameras. If we do the intersections and parks, the 4 cameras would be half that, 13,500 a year.
What's the average operating lifespan of these cameras?
The lifespan of the camera, I don't know. I'd have to ask Flock. I'm not sure on that, but I know we've had some up for a couple of years without incident.
Okay.
Flock is very good company that will come out and
Do they service them if something were to go wrong?
somewhere to go wrong, yes.
Okay.
So it's important to know that we don't have to do, all 8 in the summary that's been provided in your folders. It's important to understand that we currently have 7 ALPR cameras that are currently up in the village, and the locations, Wolf and Indian Woods Lane northbound, Joliet and Willow Springs, and we have 7 of these. So they're permitted and active. We have 2 that are not active and not permitted yet. So just in license fees for a current ALPR, it's basically $30,000, let's just say for sake of argument, okay? So I just want the board to understand that, we're adding a significant amount of expense here. It could be, if we did the all plan, we could be spending $60,000, right? So we don't have to do the all plan, we could do the 4 plan, or, the chief could look at, and Gavin could look at, what makes the most sense. Should we just do the parks and Village Hall and start out with that? Or what would be the best combination of, there's no right answer here. So I think we have to factor in what we think are the best ways to use this technology. It incorporates some AI capabilities where we don't have to monitor the cameras. They tell us when there is activity. If a park has hours and closes at dusk, the camera will tell the officer, the AI will tell the officer that there's activity in the park, like let's say after dusk. So it'll know that it's after dusk and there's activity in the park. So it has certain abilities to help our manning and our staffing, because we don't have to be, if we're not patrolling that area, it's still going to notify the officer or notify dispatch of any of things out of the ordinary. So the camera can be trained to know what's ordinary, and then it lets the officer know if it's out of the ordinary and to what extent it's out of the ordinary. So it's a very interesting technology. It's to help us augment our patrol. It's not to eliminate patrol by any means or our manning, but it's there to help us understand when there's activity in places where we may not be. So it's very interesting. I'd say many of the neighboring municipalities have this technology, and we just want to bring it to you to figure out, what can we afford, what's the right combination of cameras, and what should we get positioned for 2025 and 2026.
So I'm just curious about the recommendations on the placement at parks specifically. Are parks like an area that are known for nefarious after-dark behavior? Is that
Not
something?
after dark, but parks are always a place where youths gather.
Okay,
Just want to be able to monitor in case there is a problem there.
okay,
With Black Hawk, they have a pan-tilt zoom camera in the, that we were gonna install, but also a fixed camera that would cover pretty much the rest of it. We don't have 100% coverage, there's a lot of trees there, but it's the best option that we came up with. Same with like another thing that we want to do with the intersections. I was under the impression that license plate readers were also live video. They're not. So they're focused on the license plates. Now we want to focus on the intersections. And like the mayor had talked about, the artificial intelligence automatically, we don't have to sit there and work them and try to pan tilt zoom if somebody's there. It automatically goes over there. We want to put one right near the 7-Eleven because there's a lot of traffic in that area there that we would like to monitor. And that's another thing that we want to do.
Okay, thank you.
So we have had some issues at Sacagawea. We have some teenagers that like to go and have a cocktail hour over under the bridge. So we've had several issues over there, and we've just felt like there's activity in that park that we can't quite put our finger on. So I think that that's something for us to decide. Do we want it? Would we rather do the intersections or a combination of both? And I think that there's no right answer here. So if you have an opinion about it, please let Gavin and the chief know. If there's some combination
More is better.
of you feeling the locations, then let us know what your feelings are.
Well, here at the Village Hall, don't we have cameras on the outside already? I mean, when I'm,
Not where we want them, though. This camera would be focused on the Sally Port when we're bringing prisoners in, and it will also focus on the mailbox in other areas in the front of it.
oh, in the
Yeah.
front.
We have stuff on the side, but not where we need it in the front.
And our water billing whale box got broken into, unfortunately. No, they didn't get any checks, but they tried to get in it.
There was an attempted.
Attempted,
What was it?
yes.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So get your feedback to Gavin and the chief. If you have a specific combination of them, or you have your own opinions, please let us know. Or if the public does, you should feel free to reach out to us and let us know. This is very common technology, and we can provide any information that you want. We can also show you some demos online. It's very impressive, and I think that it would fit very well in our village. So,
I have
any
a
other questions?
Do we have a program for people that have Ring cameras to register them with the police for when there's incidents? Good working Ring cameras, like have a policy for videoing.
Yeah, we have it on our website, but we don't have a lot of participation in that program.
We need to let people know that they can register their Ring cameras because that will be a
Send something out again.
supplemental.
It's a great program. It really is.
Yeah, we need
Good
to
point.
do outreach because it would be a supplement to it. You have the points at the entrance, and then what happens once they're inside the roads. If people want to participate, it's a good tool.
We had some of that in Ashbrook. Someone's Ring camera was active as soon as the mailbox was open, and we got some pretty good videos of people taking mail out of mailboxes that were not theirs.
It was excellent video, actually. Worked out well.
Any other questions? If they're not, just get us your feedback, and we'll probably need to make a decision on this next month, I would think. So please let us know.
Well, I'll put in more is better, so I'm in for the maximum in here is for budgetary purposes anyhow.
Okay. We just want to make sure that, it is a lot when you think about our little hamlet here. That's a lot of cameras. So we just want to make sure everybody's on board, right? And we understand what we're doing, and that everybody agrees that that's the solution. All righty. Let's move on then to go to item F, please. Discussion of the 2026 preliminary budget.
So before we begin the presentation and discussion, I want to thank the Finance Committee for your patience and dedication through this budgeting process. This year's preliminary budget looks a little different in a lot of ways from what we've brought in prior years. This reflects the structural improvements that we've made to enhance transparency and efficiency. These changes will allow future budgets to be more timely and well-developed. So at this point, we're asking for the board and the public to provide input and feedback before we bring the final budget to the April meeting for a public hearing and formal approval. After tonight, we'll post the budget online and we'll invite public comments. We will also advertise the public hearing in the newspaper and on our website. And then just note that we can continue refining the budget up until its approval following the public hearing. The budget has to be approved before May 1st. If we need any changes after May 1st, we have a process in place for budget amendments, and we can go through that process. Hopefully, our budget is perfect and doesn't have to be amended, but sometimes that happens. Some of the key highlights of this budget include funding for infrastructure improvements, optimizing grants and other funding, and department-level adjustments to ensure efficient operations and long-term financial sustainability. And it also addresses some of our village priorities. I'll go through the presentation. Brandy's here for support and also can help answer any questions. Brandy is responsible for how beautiful this presentation is and also getting all the numbers straight and in order. As we move things around, particularly putting everything that is capital outlay into a capital fund budget, which we didn't have previously. Previously, the capital expenditures were spread around in the departments. We've taken those out so that you can see in one picture what our capital expenditures are and the revenues that are used to offset those expenses. So that, I would say that's the biggest change in this, and Brandy did a lot of work to make that happen. So I just want to start with the village funds. There you go. Just want to go through and point out that different funds have different designations. So our general fund is unrestricted. We can use that for any village purposes, as opposed to restricted funds, such as the water and sewer fund, which can only be used for water and sewer expenses. The motor fuel tax, which is money that comes from the state based on, there's a per capita amount, and then we also collect an amount that comes from our gas station in the village that taxes on gas purchases. There are a specific list of items in the state statutes that we are allowed to spend motor fuel tax funds on, and those are all related to roads and safety on roads. The Special Parks Fund and the Debt Fund are unique. In both those cases, those are also restricted funds. In the Parks Fund, we levy the exact amount that we send out to the CSPAR, our Special Parks and Recreation District. So the levy there matches our expenditures, and that's really just a pass-through to CSPAR. And then our debt fund, we levy the amount that we are going to owe in the fiscal year for our 2014 road bonds that were issued. And the amount represents how much we're going to have to pay in principal and interest during the fiscal year. Go ahead to the next slide. You can see on this table, as you go across from left to right, these numbers are all for fiscal year 2026. So the proposed budget that has been sent to you includes a beginning fund balance. So that's the money that we had left at the end of, at the close of, or that we anticipate having. It's an estimated number that we anticipate having at the end of fiscal year 25, the year we're in right now, which has March and April to go. The fiscal year ends on April 30th.
Clarify that for the public again, fiscal year.
The fiscal year for the village is May 1st of one year all the way to April 30th of the next year. So fiscal year 2025 began May 1st of 2024 and will end April 30th of 2025. So these numbers in front of you, though, are for fiscal year 2026, which begins May 1st of 2025, ends April 30th of 2026. So for that fiscal year, we'll have a beginning fund balance of $2.4 million. The proposed revenues are $3.5 million. The proposed expenses are a little over $3.8 million, bringing our ending fund balance to $2,142,310. The board passed last year a fund balance policy, which would require that we maintain a fund balance of 25% of our expected operating expenses. So 25% of that $3,860,000, which is just less than $1 million. And you compare that to that ending estimated fund balance of $2.1 million, and we are well above our floor of 25% of our operating expenses for the fund balance. That's good news. Moving down to the water and sewer fund, you can see as you go across, you have the starting fund balance, you have proposed revenues, you have proposed expenses in each of the funds. And we keep the funds separate because the water and sewer and motor fuel tax are for specific uses. The special parks debt, again, are passed through. And that's why those ending fund balances are zero, because we levy the amount we need in those funds. And then we spend those funds. The final line, though, I want to draw special attention to because that is a large negative number. It's our capital fund, and we anticipate starting the fiscal year 26 with a beginning fund balance of negative $1 million. And this is due to expenses that we've had in the past for Acacia Drive. Some expenses are for Wolf Road, and these are, we anticipate getting reimbursements in the case of Acacia Drive from a federal grant that's administered by IDOT and the West Cook Municipal Conference. And those, we don't know when we're going to get those funds. It could be 2 years, it could be 3 years. It's a long process. I spent a long time on the phone with our engineer from Strand about this specific issue, just trying to get to the bottom of when can we expect this funds, how much can we expect to get. And he was just honest with me that this always takes a long time, to get the funds from the federal government. But that comes back to why we use fund balance and fund accounting, because there are expenses that we know we're going to realize at some point in time. We just don't know when. So we need to know really what the fund balance tells you is how much money you have to spend. As opposed to, you could look at how much money you have in the bank, but some of that money is already obligated for certain things. Some of that money, in this case, what I'm talking about here with this negative amount, there could be more in our bank if we receive those funds at some point in time. So, Brandy, did you have anything else to elaborate on the capital fund?
I have a question.
Yes.
You did not finish the list of who owes us money. So Wolf Road, is that Cook County?
Yes.
Is that for the study?
Yes, ma'am. For phase 1.
For phase 1. And so we already paid all of it, and they owe us how much?
It's not done.
Oh, we haven't paid all of it.
Not all of it, no. But
Okay.
we will be. We have submitted some, and we've gotten some reimbursement, but there's more to come.
More to come. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One thing I'd like to point out is this shows on that same screen there, the beginning balance at the total left is $6,253,000. That is the sum of the funds, because we're doing fund accounting, we're not doing cash accounting with that. The actual cash balance at the beginning is going to be something less than half of that. So the cash and the funds are two different items, and they're not meant to be the same. So I just acknowledge the difference.
Appreciate that. So, moving on to the general fund departments. As you know, we have village board, administration, community development, public works, buildings and grounds, police, and then the police and fire commission, and overhead. Overhead is a category where we took a lot of things out of the different departments that were small dollar amounts and put them in the overhead to just make the whole budget document a little more clean and efficient. And you can see on the next slide how our revenues break down between different sources. Obviously, our highest revenue source is taxes in the form of property taxes, which is 43% of our revenue, or I'm sorry, 33%, and then state and local taxes, which is 43% of our revenue, or $1.5 million. So the purple section is state and local taxes. And then moving on to our expenses in the general fund, you can see how those are broken down by department. Our largest expense by department is the police, which makes sense because in the community survey we did, the highest priority among our residents was public safety. So we're putting our money where the priority is. So I think that's a good thing, a good sign. I think the chief agrees with me, as well as the police committee. So are there any questions about anything I've talked about so far? No? Okay.
Only one question. The $945,000 grant that we haven't received the money, is that anywhere in the budget?
No, we will have to do a environmental study, or the environmental part, before we can even begin to draw down that money. And we've been talking with Strand about when they can begin the environmental study, how long that will take. But until we have a more solid schedule for that, we haven't put it in the budget. But we can always come back and again amend the budget for that purpose.
But when will the money be transferred?
After the environmental,
Okay.
we can begin drawing down funds as we spend them.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on to the water and sewer fund. Again, this is a restricted fund. You'll see our revenues are $2 million for that, and the expenses are $3.3 million, which is over our revenue by $1.2 million. And we'll get to the biggest part of that is because of the Pontiac and Keokuk project. The water portion of that, the water main under Pontiac that will be replaced, is going to be paid for out of the water and sewer fund. The motor fuel tax, again, that is expenses related to our roads. You can see revenues that we expect to get from the state, and it's split out, like I said, between the state allotment, which is on a per capita basis, and the local gas tax, which is collected at our gas station at the 7-Eleven. Then we have special parks and debt, and again, those are pass-through accounts that funds CSPAR, and it pays off our 2014 bonds. Finally, the capital fund, and this is where you see transfers out of other accounts. Our vehicle sticker sales, I want to point out, are really, those funds are designated to go towards our capital fund. The reason we have a vehicle sticker is to collect a wheel tax, basically. So for the privilege to drive on our roads, and park in our community, you have a vehicle sticker. And those funds are specifically used for road improvements. And then we have transfers from water and sewer. Again, that's for the Pontiac water main, and a transfer in from the general fund to cover costs for that project is the main expense there, and the same with the transfer from the motor fuel tax. As you can see, 78% of our capital fund is for the Pontiac project. And there's detail in the proposed budget that was sent out to you that backs up all those numbers that are in the presentation. And thank you for listening and participating.
Are there any questions right now? As you review the documents, I would really like it if you can get any feedback to Gavin and/or Brandy. We will be having a public hearing next month on this, but they want your feedback. I do also believe that the Finance Committee is going to be meeting again, I'm assuming. So if they could have the feedback too to incorporate into their meetings, that would be wonderful. So if some of the trustees want to have questions or anything, because the format, I think the format is very different than it was. I think the use of this overhead is different. I think a different concept of how you've taken expenses out of certain places. So, by all means, if people have questions, please get them to Brandy and Gavin so they can answer your questions. And as the Finance Committee prepares for the public hearing and getting all this approved, we want to get all the feedback in and things going on this, so we get everything done in time. No other questions?
The Finance Committee meets April 1st.
Okay. So,
Fooling.
no fooling? Okay. All righty. Seeing that there's no more discussion on that, we are going to move on to public comments. Do we have any emails that have come in today, Andres, from the public?
No.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody from the public want to come and discuss any items?
There's an item that was on the agenda that you haven't addressed.
Oh,
It's up above your item A, B, C, D, on the top of the second page.
ratifying, we do have,
Part of the consent.
oh, that was provided consent agenda.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. I think it was just yep. But thank you for that. Way to go. I like that you're you're checking our work there. That's good.
Biggest fan.
Back in practice.
I like that. Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Thanks for that feedback. Hearing none, we will move on to reports. Trustees. Trustee Gazis?
Planning and zoning did meet last week. As discussed earlier in one of the new business items, there was a special use granted for the Blue House, 6981 Vine Street, with restrictions due to concerns that were brought up. And there was also another hearing that was postponed for a little more clarification until next month for another special use. And Andres could cover that a little bit more detail.
Yes, that was the special use that we are going to, that is basically the same thing that we approved before with Top Gear and the former AMCO to do a mechanics automotive shop there. However, to make it easier for prospective businesses, and also the property owner, we'd basically be tailoring the special use to only be the AMCO property or AMCO part of the property, and that we are going to then allow that automotive special use. But the key part is that the committee was discussing putting both outlining what types of automotive services would be allowed there and the hours that would be allowed there as well as any sort of enforcement mechanism, which is where the committee wanted a little more clarification on that. They said they continued it to the next month, which would normally be April 1st, but since that's the election that day, this room will be in use. So that this room will be in use, so we will pick another day but yes, the committee was behind, or the commission was behind approving it, just they wanted a little more clarification on some things.
Anything else, Trustee Gazus, from
No more reports.
Trustee Sveska?
Couple things from landscape. So spring weather is sort of upon us, and we're starting to see a lot more movement of critters out in the public space. One thing that you're going to start to see is a lot more nocturnal movements, specifically from the possums, which we often have a lot of concern about people thinking they're large rats. They're not. They're North America's only marsupial. They eat lots of ticks. Please try not to hit them with your cars. They're just trying to find somebody to cuddle up and get warm with. So please be cautious, especially when you're driving at night and you see something crossing the road in front of you. Leads me to a second point about rats. So rats are gross, right? They carry lots of concerning diseases. The number one attractant in the suburbs for rats is pet waste. I walk a lot. I've seen a lot of unpicked up dog waste along the roadways. If you're out walking your pet, please pick up after your pet. Please throw the waste in a designated waste receptacle. Most of our parks have waste receptacles and bags for collecting solid material. So please do that for everybody that walks their dogs and doesn't want rats. Last thing, so spring, like I said, is upon us. Landscape Committee Frank Zabalas reached out to me and said now is a great time if you want to get some of that invasive buckthorn out. Now is the time. So it's very, very easy to pull up those little seedlings. So now would be the time to think about if you're going to clear out an area, go out there. He said it's really easy to pull up. We're going to continue to talk about that in the Landscape Committee and hopefully get some more information out on the respective Facebook and public sites about that to help everybody. If you have any questions, please let us know. Thank you.
Trustee O'Loughlin?
Yes, I just want to bring up that Easter egg hunt is going to be at Blackhawk Park on Saturday, April 19th from 11 to 1 p.m. There'll be an egg hunt by age at 11:15 a.m. Bring your own basket, plus pony rides, petting zoo, pictures with the Easter Bunny, and a scavenger hunt. We estimate 6,000 eggs this year that we're going to have, and that's so please make sure you arrive early because they will go within less than a minute. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Trustee Eck?
Yes, thank you. Two things. Finance Committee, the big item is on the budget, and it looks like we might want to move the April 1st meeting, and we'll chat about that shortly. Regarding Public Works, Joe's going to talk about that, but two big items. Streets are still a main topic, and then we'll also be talking about the trash removal franchise, and Gavin is coordinating that at the present time. Other than that, nothing more.
Trustee Saldana?
No report.
Village Clerk?
Kind of as I alluded to earlier, the big thing is that the municipal elections coming up on April 1st. The early voting will be starting in select locations on March 17th. That is next Monday. So if you are wanting to vote, if you want to check to see where you're going to vote, or you check to see if you're registered, you can do that all online, or you can reach out to us here at the village. We have had practice looking that up for people. The other thing is, give me a second. So one of the things kind of both in community development and village clerk style is that we have engaged with Safe Built, the company that you approved the contract for last month. They were looking to do building code updates to get us in compliance. We have to be up to at least 2018. We are looking at 2021. They are starting to work on that and do zoning code review as well. Speaking of vehicle stickers, the renewal will be coming out in the next month or so. I forget exactly when we do that, but usually we start in April. because then we start opening up in May. I think it is May 1st that we start opening for that. So keep an eye in your mailbox for vehicle sticker renewals. And the one last thing I was going to say is that spring cleanup this year is a little earlier. It's in late April. I forget the dates off the top of my head. Gavin, do you remember them? I think it's the last 2 weeks in April and the first week of May, where normally it's more in May. So it's a little earlier this year. Keep an eye on we'll have it. I mean, I'll most likely have a better date and time. Keep an eye on anything from the village, newsletters, all that as well. We'll have those out too. So that's all I have for my clerk's report.
Village treasurer,
No report.
village attorney,
No report, and I do not believe we have a request for closed session later in the meeting.
that's correct. Village administrator.
Do you guys want to go ahead? Chief, you want to start first?
We're after you on here for some reason. I don't know why.
I have a few things I wanted to report. So we are putting in an application to the Lyons Township Mental Health Committee. They have funded for the past year our senior lunch program here that we do in partnership with Aging Care Connections. We met with Aging Care Connections today to discuss applying again for that program. We're also, the Mental Health Commission also provides funding for our elderly services officer, and we're looking at reapplying for that funding and possibly expanding the work of the ESO. I'll be talking with Chief Walsh about our capacity to do that. In the waste hauling agreement that Trustee Eck mentioned, I've been talking with the Public Works Committee about that, and also with the West Cook County Solid Waste Agency about developing an RFP for that. We have, the current agreement was set to expire at the end of April 30th of this year, but we have exercised the extension clause, so we have up to another 180 days under the current agreement, in which we can either negotiate a new agreement with SBC, or we can go out and get new bids. The board has asked me to develop an RFP that could potentially contain an opt-in clause for HOAs. And that's, been the subject of a lot of discussion over the years. But my meeting today with the West Cook Solid Waste Agency was very productive, and they have a lot of good suggestions for developing an RFP that meets the goals of the village board. We have been working with a group from the UIC Masters of Public Affairs, Public Administration program, and they're doing a capstone project on performance management. Andres and I met with them this week. They've made some progress on the project. They're developing a dashboard and recommendations for future community surveys that will allow us to put out to the public our performance data. And they will have some deliverables to us for presentation to the board in May. And finally, we will be participating in the Northern Illinois University Masters of Public Administration Intern Placement Program in May, and hopefully we'll have a match that can start working with us in June. So that's my report.
That's great news. Thank you for taking advantage of those educational institutions to get some of those great projects going. And now, could we please have our department heads? Chief Walsh?
Okay, I'll go over the top calls for service first. We had 494 calls in February. We had 223 premise checks, 106 traffic stops, 53 ambulance assists, 16 assist citizens, and 9 alarms. I met with the Police Fire Commission on March 6th. They gave me permission to give conditional offers to Paul Amos and Brian Buckley. Paul was part-timing with us. He's done an excellent job. He met all the requirements. He signed up for the lateral list. They met, they interviewed him, and I gave him a conditional offer. He accepted. We're going to get him onboarded starting Sunday. Brian Buckley, I offered him a conditional offer. He's working in another department. We have to just delicately finish his background check. Does not have to go to the academy, but he was on our original new list for police officers. So no academy is needed at this time. Corporal Kassane's still working on future candidates and talking to them and letting them know that we're still interested, if they're still interested, if the need arises. The flock cameras we talked about, Commander Gardner has a meeting tomorrow. I forget which plaza, to talk about getting permissions there. He's been working on that so that we can, once everything's approved through the budget, we can get those going. I met with Marty Bennett and Megan Kinsella and others at Cook County a couple days ago. He has the ability, he's going to send me the floor plans for Highlands Middle School in case there's for the rescue task force, because excuse me, I worked for Cook County and I know we won't be the first ones there. We're too far away. So Indian Head Park will be the first ones on scene. They're going to give us a floor plan, as I stated too, when we show up earlier, several meetings ago. If we get there, there's a access area, but we have to call Cook County. They'll give us a code. We can gain entrance immediately, and that's what we would need to do if something were to happen there. I met with the Crisis Center today, and I put some materials up there. The Crisis Center is for battered men and women, and they provide resources. They also are educating the schools. They call it Safe Start. Some of the things I learned today is that they're teaching dating protocols. They're teaching people how not to be a victim. They have something called love bombing, which I never heard of. It's when somebody keeps sending text after text after text, which I would call harassment by telephone, but they call it love bombing in high school. And then they're teaching them that to report it. They're teaching them, like, sometimes some of the victims will hand over their phone so their significant other can look through it. Things like that they teach them at an early age. You don't have to do that. You don't have to be a victim. They have free witness counseling. If you're over 5, you only need, or under 5, you only need one parent consent. If you're 12, I said you're over 5. If you're 12 and over, you don't need any parental consent. They will provide free rides to go get the counseling there and back. They will also give free transportation to anybody that needs order protection, because some of these people don't have an avenue to get there, and they're kind of prisoners in their own house. So if they will make the call, they'll go get them with a lift, get them there, get the order of protection, and get them back. They also have translators. If there's a language barrier, they have the access to. She was very confident that any language that you speak, that they can get somebody to be able to interpret for you. And it was a nice meeting, a great meeting. I left that information there. Fortunately, we haven't had that many domestic calls in Indian Head Park, but there are a lot of villages that do, and there's a lot of people that are abused that don't know how to get out of it. So this is a great resource. It's good just for everybody to know in case they do know somebody. And then lastly, the covert vehicles. We got 2 covert vehicles. The temporary plates came in. We got them on the vehicles, so now they're roadworthy for us to use when we need them.
Quick question. Were you able to pick up the new the new walkie-talkies or
Radios?
the radios from the county?
They're not programmed yet. Marty was getting the new radios programmed. I forgot to say that. He's giving me 11 radios and 11 chargers so that each full-time officer will have a radio. Now, we still have the bank for the part-time. They're programming the neighboring communications in there. So if there's some that are on, is it LTAC or something?
Yes, it's LTAC.
They're on LTAC. So we'll have the ability to talk to them. And that was a concern of our officers. If we're working with the neighboring town, that we couldn't talk to each other. So we're getting permissions for that. They're going to program that for us as well.
And what about ISPERN?
ISPERN should be on every radio. I'll talk to Marty about trying to get the ability to get it in the cars and see what the cost is. Because even when I was on the street, they actually gave us a different, just a portable radio to listen to it. A lot of times with the county, they'll just say, Indian Head Park monitor wristburn or something coming your way. But again, I think it's better if we have it as its own channel, but right now we don't. And I'll talk to
Well, I
them.
was just wondering if, like what we're doing with LTAC, can't we have ISBRN just, on that radio? So because ISBRN is rare, right?
No, this one would be on any county radio, Channel 4. I'll make sure, though, I'll verify
Yeah, I just
that.
thought it would be good because I got some feedback that they were putting other radios in the car, putting them, just clipping them to the other seat to have ISBRN going all the time.
Yeah, and it's better if we just have the specific channel, because if you just put it where it was roaming,
Yeah,
it would pick up too much.
Right.
One of the channels was weather, so if it was nothing going on, you'd be listening to the weather your whole shift.
Right.
So you don't want that. So I'll talk to Marty, see if we can get additional radios, but they do have ISBRN capability, so they have to switch over to listen to it, though.
so has there been any discussion about them wanting to hear DUCOM for Willowbrook and Burr Ridge or not?
Our officers?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so are you doing DUCOM too then?
As long as they give us the permissions, because I know that one of them, Oak Lawn dispatches for some agencies around here. We're going to have to talk to them because
Okay.
from what I understand, they don't like to give permissions, so I might have to go there personally and talk to them and see if we can get them.
Okay, thank you. Joe, sorry, not, last but not least, right?
I'll keep it brief. Well, as we mentioned, we got the pre-construction meeting for the road program for this year, 2025, on March 18th. I'll get more detail on that. And also the Reclamite program is going to be done this year before May 1st as well. Once I get any information on that we'll advertise on social media. There'll be plenty of notification let off. The Reclamite company is supposed to do all the notification for it, but we'll be vigilant and also post it on all of our social media as well. A couple things. The Public Works vehicle, the 2014 building official vehicle was sold on municipal bid. We got $3,700 for it, and they picked it up on Tuesday. So that is gone. Our new truck has made it to the upfitter for the plow and the Tommy gate and so forth, so we will be taking delivery of that soon. I'm just waiting for them to give me a date as to when it's going to get done, but also will be done before May 1st. We had our emergency well by the pump house had a break on the line. We had to have that repaired. We only run that well once a month just to get a sample out of it, but it's imperative that we have that in working order in case everything went out on us. We'd have at least emergency well water, but that had to be repaired. We had a contractor come out. They had to use a vac truck because of the tight quarters in there, so they did a great job. Got it done probably in about 6 hours, which was pretty good. We also had a storm sewer repair at 6401 Blackhawk Trail. We did that in-house, just ordered the parts. I want to try and do as much as we can in-house to save on overhead, obviously. Our salt, I ordered our first 100 ton of salt on this year's budget. I ordered 300 ton, and I have to take 80% of that, or up to 120%, being as it was a kind of a mild winter. I'm going to try and take all 300. We got 100 in the dome already, and I ordered another 100 today, which will be delivered next week. Once I get 200 in there, I'll have a pretty good idea how much more I can get in there. I want to get as much as I can in there because I'm sure prices are going to go up. But also it determines how much I need to order for next year, which I have to have my count for next year in by mid-April to reserve salt for next year. I've been working with Jill in Ashbrook. She's on the board over there for tree trimming. Brian and I walked the single-family home side today and marked all the trees with yellow ribbon to have them trimmed. I've been in touch with our contractor, Sanut, meeting with him tomorrow to kind of go over what we want to do there. I mentioned to Jill to maybe put a blast out to let everybody know that we were doing that, and she said she had done that. When we were walking around today, we had noticed that there's still some Christmas lights on some of the trees. She's going to reach out to the company that puts the Christmas lights on and get that all down before we get in there and start trimming. But I'm hoping to get that started as early as next week and get that out of the way. The Heritage Center update, everything is still, we're just waiting on NICOR now to disconnect from that. Everything else has been disconnected from there. Once they're done, we can proceed with the demolition of the property. The Dome property, I know everybody, I'm sure, has seen that. It's very unsightly. We've been trying to get hold of the owner for quite some time. They've been out of the country, but we are meeting with the owner on Monday morning, myself and the building department, and we're going to discuss the repairs that need to be made by the owner of the property and possibly come up with a permanent solution to prevent people from driving in there. We can recommend. We can't tell them what to do, but we can recommend some ways to prevent that from happening, because it's going to keep happening, and that's my report.
Thank you. I think we're at the end of the meeting, so I would like to have a motion to adjourn. There's no closed session. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion has passed. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.